Joining us right now, J. Christian Adams joins us. He worked for the Attorney General for a couple of years there in the Civil Rights Division. And, Mr. Adams, you stepped down from that position over a disagreement over the Attorney General's handling of the infamous now Black Panthers, new Black Panthers voter intimidation case in Pennsylvania. It really is impossible to talk about Eric Holder and his tenure at the Justice Department without talking about civil rights and racial politics. And by the way, I'm taking their lead. That's pretty much how the president opened his remarks today, by evoking Bobby Kennedy and civil rights. And really, that's what the Attorney General talked about today as well. So let's talk about his tenure through that prism. J. Christian Adams, what's your impression of today's news?
Well, good riddance, first of all, Larry, but it's about time. The problem with this Attorney General is he saw everything through the prism of race. And, you know, at one time when you said things like that, it sounded sort of outlandish, but then the President and the Attorney General stood up today and said, yeah, that's what he does. He is there because he has a very different version of civil rights than most Americans that no longer is about equality. It's about picking and choosing winners on the basis of race. And over again, Larry, he turned the Justice Department into a political operation using racial politics. We saw it from the beginning of the administration as recently as last month in Ferguson, Missouri.
Yeah, we sure did. And listen, you really started the first controversy over this Justice Department. You didn't start it, but you shed light on it, that new Black Panther issue. But the next major problem with the Justice Department under Eric Holder was Fast and Furious. And we had some news about Fast and Furious today, didn't we?
We did. The judge is not going to let Holder continue to hide documents about what was going on in Fast and Furious. Of course, that's the scandal that led to his contempt finding before Congress. And it's indicative, Larry, of what this Justice Department has been turned into under Holder. It's a hotbed of sort of radical, progressive politics, whether it's anti-gun, anti-racial equality, anti-election integrity, anti-free speech. I mean, it runs the gamut of far-left ideology in a place that really, under great attorneys general like Ed Meese, frankly, even Janet Reno, treated it with more respect than Eric Holder has.
And given that, and again, this is one of those issues where I think you really do see two views of America, because the president was speaking about Eric Holder today as if he should get the Congressional Medal of Freedom. How do you square that circle when you, obviously someone who worked with the Attorney General, and you see things so differently? It sort of continues the polarization of not just our country, but the Justice Department, which is something that shouldn't be political.
Well, it's right that our country is more polarized and more racially divided because of Eric Holder. He turned the Justice Department into this racially motivated political turnout machine for the Democrat Party. He made no secrets about these attitudes.
Talk about what you saw on the ground. I mean, you worked not just in the Civil Rights Division, but you were actually in the voting division, were you not?
Yeah, and
the elections.
During the Bush administration, lawyers there like me, we followed the law. It's like, okay, we can't go outside these boundaries. If the law says you have to prove X, Y, and Z, you have to prove X, Y, and Z before you bring a case. After the inauguration, the new Black Panthers was just one of many examples. The place got turned into sort of this incubator for far fringe ideas. Let's bring cases. You know, the president today said that they've done more for civil rights and voting than any administration. That's not true. That's demonstrably false. If you look at the record of the Bush Justice Department on voting rights, it's far and away beyond anything that Eric Holder has done. They're about show. They're not about results.
And but now moving forward, a lot of people are already speculating about who will be the next Attorney General. There's word here, Al Sharpton apparently is claiming that he is advising the president on the nomination. What does that tell you about who our next AG might be?
Yeah, it's probably going to be worse. Look, any America where Al Sharpton thinks it's okay for him to say that he's advising the president on the Attorney General shows you how polarized the country is. Sharpton is a racial demagogue. He shouldn't be within 100 feet of this decision. Sadly, I think he's probably telling the truth.
Talk about the politics of this now. As you said, it's a highly political Department of Justice, and the act of nominating and confirming a presidential appointee is a political act. You've got a midterm coming up here the first week in November. Many indications are that the Democrat majority could very well be a lame duck majority. Would it be appropriate for that lame duck Democrat Senate to usher through a nominee from the president?
Well, the Senate is the Senate, and you can be sure that they're going to try to get somebody in there under a Democrat majority because they want someone who agrees with their philosophy, that is a genuine, true believer, fellow traveler, and they are not going to want to have to give people like Jeff Sessions and Ted Cruz a seat at the table when it comes to who the next Attorney General is going to be.
Well, J. Christian Adams, it's a cold dose of water, actually, after hearing the President's words, to hear you just emphatically say the entire idea that this Justice Department has had more wins with regard to opening up the voter rolls and being more judicious in voting rights is a complete and total falsehood. That's why we wanted you here. It's good to hear these truths. Your book, by the way, Injustice, Exposing the Racial Agenda of the Obama Justice Department, is still available, and it's good stuff. J. Christian Adams, thanks for joining us today.